quicksand in the clowns. What a surprise!
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. You know, it's been far too long since we last looked at one of the nameless, faceless Cobra troops, meaning it's time we did that again.
So meet the Toxo-Viper. This figure was released in 1988 with all original body parts. And one thing I can say straight away is that the figure certainly is unique looking. Okay, so normally I take a look at the figure without accessories first, but in this case the clothes maketh the man, so I'm showing the helmet from the start. Yeah, this is one of those characters that looks really incomplete otherwise.
When it comes to detailing,
well, most G.I.Joe figures from this time have plenty of that, but it's stuff you'd expect. Pouches, pockets, holsters, etc. With the Toxo-Viper, all the detailing is far more unique and interesting. There's the gear on his chest, which frankly looks like he's decapitated a robot and strapped on its head as a trophy. The gnarly gloves that look like they have croats on them, and the futuristic looking boots. Also, like most figures, there's folds and creases to make the suit look like actual clothing.
the most impressive part though,
Well, that's the helmet. Unlike most helmets, which are pretty smooth and have one, maybe two colors, this one has like 4 different textures and 4 different colors. It's some very nice work. Though that is undermined a bit by the fact that it's pretty goofy looking. He looks like he's a sad robot clown. And while the thing is meant to snap tightly on the collar due to years of wear and tear, it's not uncommon to find them being pretty loose on the secondary market. I dig the overall color scheme, purple, blue with some red. It's colorful enough while still being subdued, a tricky combination to pull off.
he comes with 2 more accessories.
Well, 3 if you count the hose. He's got a backpack and a weapon of some sort? Joe calls it a pistol, the wiki calls it a rifle, but it's obviously neither of those things. We'll just discuss it when we get to the character. Both accessories are, once again, pretty unique looking. Something that's become sort of my go-to description of this toy. I understand why they're there. I just would have preferred, a more traditional weapon. One negative thing is the little canisters on the sides, as they are very easily snapped off, so it's not uncommon to find broken backpacks. They look fine with or without them though.
Overall, yeah, pretty unique.
But he's not quite as sleek or pretty as other Cobra troops. It's just an okay figure, nothing to hate, but nothing to love, except the work that went into the detailing. This character got one more figure in the original line, so meet the Toxo-Viper version 2. This figure was released in 1991 with all original body parts, and it's very different looking, while still retaining some of the elements of the first one. Thanks to the helmet, which is non-removable this time, he's insect looking and overall looks much sleeker and cooler. They kept him purple, but it's a darker shade and the blue has been replaced with green. They also kept a red on the gloves. He's definitely more futuristic looking.
Or, how to put this?
The first one looked like he was wearing an outfit from a sci-fi movie in the 50s, while this one looks like he's from a current sci-fi movie. Hell, he wouldn't look out of place in the MCU, as he reminds me of Spider-Man villain the Beetle a little. For accessories, he has a backpack and an alien-looking gun. I dig the weapon, but the backpack is a bit disappointing. Oh, and he also has a water gun.
Of which I will only say it exists.
Out of both of them, version 2 is my favorite, though it does have one annoying feature, namely color-changing plastic if you spray it with water. And over time, this discoloration can become permanent, leading to some pretty ugly figures. Yeah, I know, it's a fun little gimmick for kids, but it made the figure more expensive.
It also made it unexpectedly very expensive for Hasbro. Okay, I wasn't sure where in the review to mention this, but it's too good not to talk about.
As you can see here, the color change is on a few splotches here and there. That's not how they advertised it on the packaging though. There, it looked like this. I'm kinda glad they didn't go with this, as it looks like Big Bird ejaculated all over it, but that's not the point.
The point is, I think that's false advertising. And you know who else thought it was false advertising?
The FTC, who, combining this with a complaint about the commercial for the Battlecopters, fined Hasbro $170,000. They specifically cited the Toxo-Viper in the complaint. Now, I don't know what weighed more on the fine, the commercial or the Toxo-Viper, but let's split it down the middle and say that this little guy cost Hasbro almost $90,000.
That's a lot of action figures you have to sell to make that back.
In fact, they'd have to sell about 13 to 15,000 Toxo-Vipers as they retailed between $4 and $6.
Anyway, I thought this was too juicy not to mention. Let's move on.
There was only one more Toxo-Viper made in later years, and it was a convention exclusive. It looks nice, but I don't have it, so I can't say much more about it. Fun School also released a figure using version 1's mold. It has darker colors except for the backpack, which is neon green for some baffling reason. This version came out in India and Russia. And those were the toys.
Which means it's time to look at the character, starting with the file card.
Toxo-Vipers are Cobra's hostile environment troopers.
But not in the way you think.
You see, they're not sent into hostile environments, they are sent in to create hostile environments, explaining their accessories. Yeah, you know how in a workplace you can have this one toxic person? Cobra wanted a whole brigade of those, only literally.
This isn't the glamorous job you may think it is.
As the uniforms are only moderately airtight and resistant to most, but not all, solvents. And that's why the Toxo-Vipers have been nicknamed the Leaky Suit Brigade. Yeah, Cobra wanted to save some money, so the suits are made as cheaply as possible. In fact, it's so bad you do not apply to join the Toxo-Vipers, you get sent to them as punishment for screwing up royally.
Like the Vipers on Latrine Detail are glad they're not these guys.
Things vastly improve for version 2, as they do now have state-of-the-art equipment that won't kill them. Mostly. But their job still involves dealing with toxic sludge every day, so they're not that much more happy and only find pleasure in making the world a worse place. Now, the second version is part of the Eco Warriors line. The first one obviously wasn't, as that sub-team didn't exist in 1988, but I do wonder if this was sort of an early test balloon for G.I.Joe going the Save the Planet route.
As far as other media go, I can be brief.
Version 1 never showed up in the cartoon, as it came out between the Sunbow and Deke series. They did make very brief appearances in the comic, but more to say, hey, this toy exists, buy it, than to do anything relevant to their function. No more than cameos, really. Version 2, however, was seen in both the Deke cartoon and the comic. This was because Hasbro wanted to promote the Eco Warriors.
Much to Larry Hama's delight, I'm sure.
In both media, they report a cesspool who's technically supposed to be just a high-ranking Cobra, but very much formed his own faction, antagonizing both the Joes and Cobra. I think he got the Toxo-Vipers on his side by giving them the suit upgrades, really.
Not too sure how good those suits are supposed to be.
Since a year after version 2 came out, Hasbro released the Toxo-Zombie, which are zombified Toxo-Vipers who got that way due to their suits not offering enough protection. So that sort of retcons version 2's file card. And that was the Toxo-Viper. Two fairly good figures that I can recommend you get. Just try to find the clean version 2 without the permanent water damage. And as for the first, make sure to check if the helmet still snaps on tightly before buying it.
Well, I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing.
Quicksand in the clowns. What a surprise.